Hello and welcome to another video. As you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, today I'm talking about the oldest books on my TBR. So I should just specify, these are the books that have been on my TBR for the longest. They're not necessarily the oldest books in that they were published the longest ago. They're the ones that I have physically had on my shelves unread for the longest. So before I get straight into my pile that is next to me, I've got 10 books next to me that are all my TBR bets. But I should just say, let's do a bit of a history lesson here. Let's go back to the deep dark days of 2019. So basically the late 20-teens, sort of like from 2016 to 2019, I was definitely a reader. I didn't read the amount that I read at the moment. So I think it was in 2018, I did a challenge of 52 books in 52 weeks. So you read one book a week, which I totally smashed. But, now I'm reading like 120 books in a year. So I'm like, one a week? Easy. So I used to not read quite as much. This is very adorable in my mind. I used to do this thing where I'd have on my bookshelf, and I only had the one bookshelf and it was only a little small one with like 3 shelves. When I'd buy a book, it would go to the bottom of the bookshelf and I would always read the oldest books. So I'd only read basically them in the order that I bought them, starting with the oldest or acquired them. And again, I didn't have the problems I have today. I didn't buy as many books. I then discovered Bookstagram, which made my book buying habits implode. And then 2020 happened and yeah, less said about that the better. The other thing I should say as well, just because this is relevant to the first 2 books on my list, in 2018, 2019, I worked in a charity shop, which I genuinely enjoyed. And if anybody has got time to volunteer in a charity shop, I really do recommend doing it. It was great fun. The thing that I loved the most from it, maybe, I got first dibs at all of the books. So part of my job, so I used to do all of the steaming of the clothes, which is the most satisfying thing ever, and I also organised the books. So guess how many books came home with me? Answers a lot. So with all of that, let's get through this stack next to me, and I've gone through all of my shelves and gone through the books that I've had on my shelves the longest. So I'm going to start off just at the top of the pile, this one here, which is the set of Douglas Adams' Mostly Brilliant, which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This came from the charity shop. I'm just trying to get them out. So it's the 5 paperbacks in this little box. They're really smushed in. They're these kind of old, almost 70s covers. I have read, I'm not going to go through all of them because I won't get them all back in. I have read this one, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I haven't read any of the others. So I sort of count this one as this collection is still completely on my TBR. The books are all tiny. They're like 120 pages each. So I could just sit down and read it and be done with it. But no, I drag my feet. But yes, this one, actually I think I got this in 2018. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I do want to read it. I am still excited by it. I'm just slow. The next one I've got on here is V. Schwab, The Dark Vault, which is another charity shop find. You can see the Cats Protection label there. So with this one, when I bought this, I had never read a V. Schwab. I just saw that there was a V. Schwab in the charity shop. I got overexcited and bought it. I've not actually heard anyone talk about The Dark Vault. I don't know what this is about. I don't know if it's a good Schwab, a not so good Schwab. I have, since 2019, read a couple books by Schwab. So I've read Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Gallant, and A Dark Shade of Magic. I really liked Addie LaRue and Gallant. I didn't like Dark Shade of Magic. However, that's a me issue, not a book issue. I think my problem with Dark Shade of Magic is that at the time that I came to read it had been out for quite a while. I knew what to expect from a YA fantasy. and so nothing surprised me. However, I could appreciate that at the time it was quite groundbreaking. It just wasn't for me when I read it. That was another one that I bought in 2019. So I mean, like, if I'd read it when I bought it, I would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I did when I read it at the end of last year. But yes, I still have The Dark Vault. I still haven't read it. If you have read this, please tell me, is it worth reading? Is it a good shrub to read? Yeah, I'm a little bit, I am wanting to read more by V Shrub, but I'm just a little bit nervous and I don't know what to read and what not to read. We then get into the 2020 books. Now, I have selected, because I bought a lot of books in 2020, lockdown, discovering Bookstagram, being part of those like kind of book buying group things where you buy books for each other and you kind of gift books to each other. That all happened in 2020, and my TBR went from probably like under 100 to about 300. So I have many books that I acquired in 2020. I've unhauled even more, but I have got a stack that I still have here and I haven't read. So starting off with the middle grades. Rick Riordan, this is Magnus Chase and The Sword of Summer. So I love the Percy Jackson books. I'm actually currently rereading the Percy Jackson books. I really enjoy them. I read one book which wasn't Percy Jackson, The Red Pyramid, and I didn't enjoy it. That one I think is based on Egyptian mythology, and it just wasn't for me. This one is based on Norse mythology, and I want to read it because I love the Percy Jackson series and the Greek mythology series, because even the Trials of Apollo and the kind of spin-off one that I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like Roman mythology. I loved it. I just didn't enjoy the Red Pyramid, so now I'm a little bit nervous about reading this one, but I do still want to read it. I've then got here Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I have read and adored Strange the Dreamer, completely like had a brain fart then, and Muse of Nightmare. Really enjoyed both of those. They're both 5-star reads for me from Laini Taylor. I mean, this little bit up here, Northern Lights and Pan's Labyrinth in one, that just speaks to my soul. That sounds fantastic. I feel like the writing I will adore in this, but the plot I'm not sure on. I'm just a little bit nervous. I have got the whole trilogy. I could just binge the whole trilogy, but I am quite nervous. So yeah, again, if you have read this, is it worth it? Should I read it? Or is it one that I can just go, do you know what, I love the others, I won't read this series. Moving on, I've then got Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. So again, this one I bought quite a while ago. It's got lots of illustrations in it, which I hadn't realised, but I enjoy that. I'm, again, a little bit hit and miss with Neil Gaiman. So I read American Gods, hated it. I trawled through all however many 100 pages of that book, did not enjoy it. I've read The Graveyard Book, Coraline and Good Omens, and really enjoyed all of them. So I feel like this is going to be in the enjoyable pile, because it's going to be that more kind of whimsical silliness that you've got in Good Omens, Graveyard Book, Coraline, rather than the just kind of like weirdness of American Gods. But I am nervous. It's quite big as well. So yeah, quite nervous about that as well. I do want to read it. Do let me know, is it worth reading? Is it a good one? My battery is flashing, just bear with. Okay, back. So I've got 5 more books to go through that have been on my TBR for the longest time. So I've got The Bones of You by Debbie Howells. So this book I acquired in 2020. I grew up on a farm in Devon. My mum keeps hens and she sells eggs at the farm gate. Yes, I know, how adorable. And someone left this book and All the Light We Cannot See on the egg stand, basically saying like, hey, if anyone wants to take these books. My mum was like, why have you just dumped books for me? Like, it's not a book swap, it's an egg sale. So she asked me if I wanted these books, and of course I said yes. I have since got rid of all the Light We Cannot See because I realised it's just really not my kind of thing. This one again, I always see it on my shelves and I'm like, nah, not interested. I read the synopsis and I'm like, yes, very interested. So if I read out the synopsis: when 18-year-old Rosie Anderson disappears, life in the idyllic village where she grew up is never the same again. Rosie was beautiful, kind and gentle. She came from a loving family and had her whole life ahead of her. Who could possibly want to harm her, and why? Kate is a friend of the family, and she's certain someone in the village knows more than they're letting on. As the investigation deepens, so does Kate's obsession with solving the mystery of what happened to Rosie. A psychological thriller about the dark side of suburban England, where the finely pruned rose bushes hide what lies beneath. It sounds so good. It sounds so good. And every time I read the synopsis, I'm like, yes, I need to read that. And then it goes back on my shelf and I don't. So I am stoked to get to that one. I just haven't got to it yet. Similar vein, Blood Orange by Harriet Tice. This is another one, kind of domestic thriller that sounds so much up my street, but I just don't gravitate towards it. When I'm in the mood for a thriller, it's never this one. Even if I'm in the mood for a domestic thriller, I will probably pick up one of the other 10 domestic thrillers I've got on my shelves. But this one sounds so good. I love the cover as well with the broken wine glass. I just think that is stunning. So yeah, I really do want to get to this one. I might need to do a thriller reading vlog or something to try and get to some of the thrillers that I have that I never gravitate towards, even though I know I'm going to love them. Next on my list, The Familiars by Stacey Halls. So, back in 2020, we're going back into the depths of time again. My very first tandem read-along that I was part of as a creator was The Foundling by Stacey Halls. And I was obsessed. I loved it. Just absolutely fell in love with Stacey's writing, with the book, and I just was, yes, this is fantastic. So I've actually got a gift note inside this. This was gifted to me. I remember I put this one on my TBR because it sounds fantastic. It's another Stacey Halls. It's going to be amazing. Also, how beautiful is this cover? It's just gorgeous. This is a historical fiction about a woman who is struggling to have a baby. She's been pregnant multiple times, but she hasn't had a living child. She crosses paths with a young midwife who promises to help her give birth to a healthy baby. And then there's accusations of witchcraft. It sounds so good. So this is my thing, right? I love the sound of most historical fictions. Historical fiction is something that I used to read a lot of. I haven't read it for quite a while. It sounds fantastic, but I need to be reading at a much slower pace to enjoy historical fiction. So when I'm reading sort of 15, 20 books a month, historical fiction, it's just too fast a pace for me to like a book like this. So this for me is something that I need to read maybe over Christmas or over a holiday when I can take a week to actually give it its full attention rather than try and rush through it. But this book is stunning. This book is also on my self-destruct list for this year, which makes me think I really do need to get to this one. Next, I've got The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. This one, I think it was Beth from Book's Nest who was talking about this book and really enjoyed it. I'm fairly certain it was Beth, and I just thought, right, actually I like the same sort of books as she does. That sounds like my kind of thing, so I bought it. This is about a bookshop in Paris, and the bookseller basically has a gift where he can find the right book for the right person to soothe their soul, except he can't cure himself. It sounds adorable. It sounds so, so cute. It sounds quite similar in a way to books like the cat that saved the bookshop, the cat that saves bookshops, that one. Can't think what's called. I'll put it up here. It sounds really good. I'm very excited. Finally on my list is Girl Woman Other by Bernardine Evaristo. It is embarrassing that I have not read this yet. So I saw Bernardine do a talk at the Cheltenham Literature Festival with Dawn French. I already owned this book when I went to that talk. That was last year, 2021. Yeah, I have no excuse. It is a bit more of a literary book than I normally enjoy, but saying that, it's a book I really want to read. It sounds like it's something that I would enjoy. I do just really want to get to it. And again, I think similar sort of situation to The Familiars. It's something where I need to actually give myself time to read it, and I don't find that I have a lot of time to read books that I want to read at the moment. I'm either reading books that I have to read for work, or I have decided to take part in so many readathons or other things where I end up not actually being able to read the books that I wanted to read. So that is my stack of my TBR vets. Let's see if I can pick them all up. Oh, I missed one. I'm missing one. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if there's any that you'd recommend. That block. And if there's any that you think are worth reading, or any that you think, do you know what, you've had them for about 3 or 4 years now, just get rid. If you like this video, please do give me a like, subscribe if you would like to, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.